Okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Okay, so we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, second canto, chapter 9, text 23, I believe. Hare Krishna, welcome everyone. Pratyadishtam maya tatra.
Pratyadishtam maya tatra.
Tvayi karma vimohite.
Tvayi karma vimohite.
Tapo me hridayam sakshat.
Tapo me hridayam sakshad.
Atmaham tapaso naga.
Atmaham tapaso nagha.
Pratyadishtam maya tatra.
Pratyadishtam maya tatra.
Tvayi karma vimohite.
Tvayi karma vimohite.
Tapo me hridayam sakshat.
Tapo me hridayam sakshad.
Atmaham tapaso naga.
Atmaham tapaso nagha.
Pratyadishtam maya tatra.
Pratyadishtam maya tatra.
Tvayi karma vimohite.
Tvayi karma vimohite.
Tapo me hridayam sakshat.
Tapo me hridayam sakshad.
Atmaham tapaso naga.
Atmaham tapaso nagha.
Pratyadishtam maya tatra.
Pratyadishtam maya tatra.
Tvayi karma vimohite.
Tvayi karma vimohite.
Tapo me hridayam sakshat.
Tapo me hridayam sakshad.
Atmaham tapaso naga.
Atmaham tapaso nagha. Pratyadishtam maya tatra.
Pratyadishtam maya tatra.
Tvayi karma vimohite.
Tvayi karma vimohite.
Tapo me hridayam sakshad.
Tapo me hridayam sakshad.
Atmaham tapaso nagha.
Atmaham tapaso naga. Pratyadishtam maya tatra.
Pratyadishtam maya tatra.
Tvayi karma vimohite.
Tvayi karma vimohite.
Tapo me hridayam sakshad.
Tapo me hridayam sakshad.
Atmaham tapaso naga.
Atmaham tapaso nagha.
Anyone else would like to recite?
Prayadishtam maya tatra.
Pratyadishtam maya tatra.
Tvayi karma vimohite.
Tvayi karma vimohite.
Tapo me hridayam sakshad.
Tapo me hridayam sakshat.
Atmaham tapaso nagha.
Atmaham tapaso naga.
Pratyadishtam maya tatra.
Pratyadishtam maya tatra.
Tayi karma vimohite.
Vai karma vimohite.
Tapo meridayam sakshat.
Tapo me hridayam sakshat.
Atmaham tapaso naga.
Atmaham tapaso naga. Pratyadishtam. Order.
Order.
Maya.
Maya.
By me.
By me.
Tatra.
Tatra.
Because of.
Because of.
Tvai.
Tvai.
Unto you.
Unto you.
Karma.
Karma.
Duty.
Duty.
Vimohite.
Vimohite.
Being perplexed.
Being perplexed.
Tapa.
Tapa.
Penance.
Penance.
Me.
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 Hridayam.
Hridayam.
Heart.
Heart.
Sakshat.
Sakshat.
Directly.
Directly.
Atma.
Atma.
Life and soul.
Life and soul.
Aham.
Aham.
Myself.
Myself.
Tapasa.
Tapasa. Of one who is
Of
engaged.
one who is engaged.
Of one who is engaged in penance.
Anaga.
Anaga.
O sinless one.
O sinless one.
Už zase zlobí internet. Okay, so I will do what? Can you hear me? Hare Krishna? Yes? Okay, great. I don't hear you, but you are muted, so that's good. I have a phone as a backup if it falls. So, translation. Oh, see that it was I who first ordered you to undergo penance when you were perplexed in your duty. Such penance is my heart and soul, and therefore penance and I are non-different. Report by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta. The penance by which one can see the personality of Godhead is to be understood as devotional service to the Lord, and nothing else, because transcendental love, can one approach the Lord. Such penance is the internal potency of the Lord, and is non-different from Him, by non-attachment for material enjoyment. The living entities are engaged in the conditions of material bondage because of their propensity for overlordship. But by engagement in the devotional service of the Lord, one becomes detached from this enjoying spirit. The devotees automatically become detached from worldly enjoyment, and this detachment is the result of perfect knowledge. Therefore, the penance of devotional service includes knowledge and detachment, and that is the manifestation of the transcendental potency. One cannot enjoy material illusory prosperity if he desires to return home, back to Godhead. One who has no information of the transcendental bliss desires to enjoy this temporary material happily, wants to see the Lord, and at the same time wants to enjoy this material world, he is considered to be a fool only. One who wants to remain here in the material world for material enjoyment has no business entering into the eternal kingdom of God. The Lord favors such a foolish devotee by snatching all that he may possess in the material world. If such a foolish devotee of the Lord tries to recoup his position Then the merciful Lord again snatches away all that he may have possessed. By such repeated failures in material prosperity, he becomes very unpopular with his family members and friends. In the material world, the family members and friends honor persons who are very successful in accumulating wealth by any means. The foolish devotee of the Lord is thus put into forcible penance by the grace of the Lord. And at the end, the devotee becomes perfectly happy, being engaged in the service of the Lord. Therefore, penance in devotional service of the Lord, either by voluntary submission or by being forced by the Lord, is necessary for attaining perfection, and thus such penance is the internal potency of the Lord. One cannot, however, be engaged in the penance of devotional service without being completely free from all sins. As stated in the Bhagavad Gita, only a person who is completely free from all reactions of sins can engage himself in the worship of the Lord. Brahmaji was sinless, and therefore he faithfully discharged the advice of the Lord, Tapa Tapa, and the Lord, being satisfied with him, awarded him the desired result. Therefore, only love and penance combined can please the Lord, and thus one is able to attain his complete mercy. He directs the sinless, and the sinless devotee attains the highest perfection of life. Omagyanatimirandhasya gyananjana salakaya chaksurunmilitam yena tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhaktivedanta Svaminiti Namine Namaste Sarasvate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paschata Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Narayanam namaskrityam, naram chaiva narotamam, devim sarasvatim vyasam, tato jayamutiraye. Nastaprayeshu abhadreshu, nityam bhagavata sevaya, bhagavati utama shloke, Bhaktir Bhavad Birnaishtikim. Hare Krishna. So again we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, text 23 of chapter 9, canto 2. Pratyadishtam maya tatra tvai karma vimohite tapome hrdayam sakshat atmaham tapaso naga. O sinless Brahma, you may know from me that it was I who first ordered you to undergo penance when you were perplexed in your duty. Such penance is my heart and soul, and therefore penance and I are non-different. So, Hare Krishna. So, when I was preparing for this class, I was thinking that I would like to speak about how to combine material and spiritual life together. And then I went to the verse and purport and I read it. And then Srila Prabhupada says it's not possible. It's not possible. One cannot enjoy material illusory propensity if he desires to return home back to Godhead. So then I am like, okay, well, so I don't know how shall I speak about how to do these both things together. When Srila Prabhupada says well, obviously it's not possible. And so I was thinking about it a lot, how is it not possible to enjoy the material world together and serving Krishna at the same time? And I think when we read elsewhere from Srila Prabhupada, that we also get a different knowledge. So one cannot enjoy material illusory prosperity if he desires to return home back to Godhead. And one who has no information of the transcendental bliss in the association of the Lord foolishly desires to enjoy this temporary material happiness. And then Srila Prabhupada goes on and he says, if the devotee is so foolish that he still wants to enjoy material world, while also he wants to go back to Godhead. Like Prabhupada says, like it's not possible to have both. But if someone is so foolish that they still want to have both, then Krishna will help. So that's encouraging. So it's possible to want both, but then Krishna will help this devotee who is fool because he doesn't know that he's like going for a stool and gold at the same time. So Krishna removes the things that are the stumbling blocks on fully surrendering. So that's even if we don't desire going back home, back to Godhead whatsoever, even if the desire is not there at all, still this material world is arranged in such a way that it's for us to go back home, back to Godhead, even if we don't desire it. Then the material world is so made to like fulfill our desires and also help us to see that our desires are really foolish. But if the desire like develops in like after receiving the seed of the desire from spiritual master, after we receive the seed of the desire from spiritual master, then this mechanism of the material world works even more in the direction of moving us more and more towards this desire. And it's because it's not only like Krishna's external energy working, like for every spirit soul who is entangled in this world, Krishna's external energy is working in helping us to rectify our desires and eventually wanting to go back. But if we already want to go back, then also Krishna's internal energy is involved, and it becomes very personal. And I really love how personal it is, like all the stories in Krishna book, Srimad Bhagavatam, in Chaitanya Charitamrita. You can see like with Krishna's like relationship with every spirit soul and the way how he takes them back to home is very individualized. And I know that every one of us here could like tell stories how it happened that on Sunday we are sitting here and like are interested in Srimad Bhagavatam, like how Krishna like pulled different threads that like were very individual, like there is no like single same story, and leads to the same place of the desire going back to Godhead. So like I was thinking, for example, of even like devotees like Indra or Brahma. They are demigods, they are devotees. They also are so foolish that they have some material desires. So that's encouraging. It's not just me, but also much higher evolved spirit beings have also mixed desire to enjoy material world and also go back home. So that's, for example, Indra, who is in charge of like weather of and different like affairs in the heavenly planets. And so he's becoming proud. Mostly proud. And then Krishna is thinking, it doesn't take him, like it's not difficult for him to think, but still like Krishna, like it makes effort to think like, how can I support Indra to see himself? How can I like create a process for him where he can like really see himself in the mirror and see how proud he is. So it's not like even like Krishna would go to Indra and tell him like, hey, like you are proud, you know, you should be more humble. Krishna doesn't do that, but Krishna creates an experience for Indra where he abandons Indra Yagya. He abandons like the inhabitants of Vrindavan to offer Yagya to Indra. And then Indra becomes angry, he becomes furious, he wants to destroy the whole Vrindavan and kill all the inhabitants because his like pride is like so hurt by not getting what he's supposed to get from the people. And then Krishna leaves Govardhan Hill, protects everyone from Indra's anger. And then Indra gets the realization of like, wow, like I was so proud. And it's like so humbling experience for him to like make these mistakes, wanting to kill all these pure devotees. And his heart is transformed. And I just find these stories like so beautiful, how Krishna like with every single every single one of us, if it's like a tree, a spirit soul in the tree, or a spirit soul in the body of a dog, or a horse, or ant, or a human being, or a demigod, whatever, like even the pure devotees like the gopis, Krishna always have like programs how to increase their love and increase their humility, and it's so beautiful. Like not like this, there is like really thousands and thousands of examples of that. Another one that comes to mind is Lord Brahma. We are now actually hearing what Krishna is telling to Lord Brahma, who first received this knowledge from Krishna. Like Brahma comes as the first being in this universe. When this universe is created, Brahma comes as the first being. It's dark, he doesn't know what to do. He is doing austerity, and then Krishna reveals him with the truth, the absolute truth, himself, and also Brahma's service. So that's what we are reading about now. Like Krishna is revealing to Brahma. And then Brahma, even being like the first disciple and also spiritual master in our parampara. So that's very elevated, pure devotee consciousness. Still, when Krishna comes to this earth, much, much later than the beginning of the creation, like I think like 115 trillion years or something. 115 trillion years later, Krishna comes on earth. And Brahma is confused. He's not recognizing who Krishna is, and he also has like some little like false pride going on, like he's like the boss of the whole entire universe. He's like on the top of the top, everything is like under him, below him. And so then Krishna brings all other Brahma from the other universes to create this experience of humility from Brahma, from our universe. Yes, you are the boss of this universe, but really there is unlimited of universes, and every of these unlimited universes have their own Brahma, and some of them are really like much more powerful than you. In fact, this universe is like one of the smaller universes. And then Brahma goes like, oh, he's like really destroyed. And he sees like, oh, I thought like I was like so important. And now I see I'm just like out of many, many millions and really unlimited numbers of other Brahmas. So Krishna takes care. Krishna takes care to like, okay, it's not possible to like really like enjoy material world and at the same time be like go back home. But then like if we want to do that, it's okay, because like Krishna has our back. Krishna has our back, and it's like really constantly wanting us back home more than we can imagine. And he's not forcing us, but he has like a smart ways how to do that. Like when there is a Sattva seminar, David and Marie, they don't come to the seminar room and they don't say like, hey guys, like you should transform now and like you should become a pure devotees and like, like give up this grungy. Like I've been to few seminars and I didn't hear that. But what I've seen are these like powerful processes that when the people go through these processes, they get their own realizations. And so Krishna is doing the same thing, and it's very beautiful. So like we can like read about this, like, okay, the goal is to like only want to serve Krishna and not want to enjoy myself. That's the goal. I'm not there. And there is like so many processes ahead that will help me realize that that's really the only thing that I want to do with my life. So Krishna cares, and he cares very personally. And I was thinking about this principle, like, I'm like, why not to enjoy material world and at the same time serve Krishna? Like I'm in this, like, why not? So I was thinking about it too, and it's really more like the consciousness, like what's the material world? I even made So it's from Chaitanya Charitamrita. There is another energy called illusion, which consists of fruitive activity. So that's Lord Chaitanya talking to Sanatan Goswami, and he's describing the material energy. And he says, this energy is called illusion, and it consists of fruitive activity, of like sense gratification. So the material world is a place, like geographically, like we are geographically in the place called material world, and it's like distinctive from the spiritual world. There is like a big like boundaries between it and the Viraj River and all the coverings of the material world. So in a sense, it's true that like it's like geographically distinctive, like I'm in the material world and somewhere else is spiritual world, like I'm in Czech Republic and somewhere else is Florida. But really, what's like more important is the consciousness. So, and there is like so many places in Srimad Bhagavatam and Chaitanya Charitamrita when we can hear this verse. Wherever you are, there is Vrindavan. Where the pure devotee is, there is the holy Dham. Because the pure devotee in his consciousness is in the spiritual world constantly, no matter how it appears externally. That like, okay, the pure devotee maybe physically, or like it's even not physically, but like geographically speaking, it might look he's in Czech Republic, but in his mind, in his consciousness, in his whole being, he's in Vrindavan, in Golka Vrindavan. And so Maharaj Yudhishthir says to Vidura, you don't have to go to holy places, like wherever you are, there is Vrindavan. And then Lord Chaitanya says the same thing to Sanatan Goswami. When Sanatan Goswami comes to see Lord Chaitanya, he has like long hairs and beard, and he's dirty and improperly dressed, and he's really like more like untouchable. And Lord Chaitanya touches him, and Sanatan Goswami is like, no, don't touch me, you know, I'm untouchable, it's not proper. And he's like, oh, shame, embarrassed. And Lord Chaitanya says, wherever you are, there is Vrindavan, you are so pure, like I want to touch you. I want to purify my consciousness by touching you. So from this, we can see that the consciousness is more important than the geographical destination. So the consciousness of the material world is a taker. It's a taker consciousness. I want to take. I want to be happy. I want you to adore me and tell me how great I am, and I want to like get some juice, and I want to squeeze some enjoyment for myself. And so that's material consciousness. And then the spiritual consciousness is a giver consciousness. So really it's difficult to do these two together. Like if we take a look at it, like I want to be giver and taker together. we can make attempts for it. So the giver consciousness in like Golok, in Krishna devotee, giver consciousness, all he wants is pleasing Krishna, pleasing the spiritual master, bring the other spirit souls back to Krishna, because that's the greatest love that he can show to the fellow living entities. And that's his desire, that's his joy. So then, like, if I'm in a relationship and I want to be giver, but really only if I can take something back, then Srila Prabhupada says, one cannot enjoy the material illusory prosperity if he desires to return home, because it's just like two complete opposite consciousness. And of course, there is like a scale of it. Like I can like give like 10% if I can get back 90%, or I really don't want to give anything, you know, whatever. So, but it goes against each other. It's not really working. But then like, okay, it's for us like a mirror. Like as I said, like in the same way, like Dira Govinda and Malini, they don't come to the seminar and they don't say like, you know, just just like give up this victim story. They create a process. And in the same way, Krishna is creating processes for us, and the processes are like a mirror for us. So it's not really about like reading this and tell myself like, oh, I'm such a rascal that I have these material desires. I really shouldn't want this. I should only want Krishna. And then I become depressed because I don't want Krishna. And then the material desires are not allowed. So what shall I do? I can only do nothing. Actually, recently I had a client and he's very depressed and he's interested in Krishna consciousness. And we came to this topic like, okay, what do you want in your life? Oh, I don't want anything anymore. Okay, well, I actually don't even know what to want. Well, I mean, yes, like if I would want something, then maybe it wouldn't be fulfilled and it's not really spiritual. It's not nice to have desires. So he was going on like this. And it was clear that like he's using this Krishna conscious philosophy, which I can very much relate. He's using this Krishna conscious philosophy to completely block himself from desires that he has. And also, like as the conversation unfolded, it was also very clear he's from 5 children, and there was not much space in his family for the children to be spoiled. And he is bringing this from his childhood. It's like, it's not nice to desire something. And especially it's not nice to desire something that's difficult to obtain. And then like going in his life with this self-defeating belief from childhood, he's using the Krishna conscious philosophy to make it look good. You know, I am such a good person that I have like no material desires. And I am depressed so much that I cannot even get out of my bed. Oh, that's a little problem there. So it doesn't seem that like there is like a lot of desire to serve Krishna. Actually, there is more like resentment towards Krishna because he's suffering so much. And so for us to like read in such a way, which I have a big tendency to do, read in such a way like, oh, he says that I cannot enjoy material energy if I want to go back home. Okay, I want to go back home. So I will like be very careful, put my hands like this so I don't touch anything in this material world, so I don't like become like attracted or contaminated. But then it's a little bit like avoiding the processes, because really like every desires we have, even if we want to go back to Godhead, or even if we don't want to go back to Godhead. So all the desires will lead us to process that will help us to go back to Godhead. And if I'm like kind of pretending that I have no desires, then I can lay down in the bed in the depression, but I will avoid the process. I will avoid it because I want to look good, or I'm afraid of pain, like so much like different survival strategies in the name of like, oh, I'm like finished with this material world. It's like terrible, like I burned myself so many times, so I will rather not desire anything anymore. And I have like some recent experiences. I always think how to like sneak a horse in the class. So stay tuned, now it's coming, how to sneak a horse in the class. It's coming, thank you, Kelly. So I have, all the hearts are coming up. Everyone is ready for the horse to come in the class. So last year I got a horse. I bought a horse. It's so not spiritual. And I'm so proud of myself to like that I've done it. Like I took like so much money that could be used in service of Krishna, and I bought a horse that I will have to feed now for next 30 years. So it's really, I wasn't thinking about it as like a spiritual, whatever. It just like was my material desire. I want to have a horse. I want to enjoy it. I want to have baby. It's a mare, like a woman horse. So I will have baby horses, and it's like all exciting. But why I'm saying it is like, so the first 6 months with the horse was really quite miserable. She was miserable and I was miserable, and we really couldn't find like a common language. And I was thinking to sell her, not because it wasn't spiritual, even though maybe I would like say, oh, I sold her because I realized it wasn't spiritual. But really I was thinking to sell her because I wasn't getting the enjoyment that I was hoping to get. And then I realized that I wasn't assertive with her. Like in the name of like being nice to the horse and don't get bad karma. So next life I will be a horse and she will be my bad owner. I was like really like walking on, like tiptoeing around her to like really don't do anything like that would be. And so she didn't have any boundaries, and horses are not happy when they don't have boundaries. And then one day I really got angry because she really crossed my boundaries way too much, and I beated her. And she became happy. That moment like this, and it's shocking for me to see that. And she helped me to so much to connect with assertivity, not only with horses, but especially with people. So, and I know that like if I didn't have this little horse who like really brought this assertivity out of me, like, hey, this is my boundaries and I don't want you to cross it, and that's it. It would take me probably much longer that I would get to the same place as I am now. And I have like Dira Govinda and Malini knows, I have like so many like anger issues, especially in relationship with my husband, and it's gone. Like for past 6 months, it's gone. Except like one really extreme situation we had like February, but so I mean that's quite amazing, and I know it's because I followed my material desire for like having a horse, and then in itself is a hidden process. And I have so many other examples of my life where like going for something that I knew in my heart that I want, that helped me, like be it like desire for having a child, or desire for having a horse, or desire for teaching a seminar, is like brings back a lot. And of course there is like a distinction of like what desires to go for and what desires not to go for. So one easy formula for that is the regulative principles. So maybe I have some like desire for my enjoyment, and that would interfere with the regulative principles. So then I will restrain myself, because that's like, it's like the safety, like a safety boundaries. It's like if you are like acting within those boundaries, then you are safe. Like we like to use the traffic metaphor, like the traffic rules analogy. Like if I want to do like, I want to drive with my car how I want, but if I start to cross the red light, or if I start to drive in the left lane, then I will probably get in severe troubles. So these regulative principles of freedoms, that's like the safe rules that like kind of give the boundaries of like of really like Krishna's seminar. The seminar comes up again. So there are some ground rules, and then the processes are very personalized. Everyone has their own, and then like when the spirit soul leaves this body and goes to another body, then it's the paramatma. Paramatma reminds the desires. The spirit souls forgets completely, but then the desires of the previous lives are reminded. And so it feels like it's different to like have a desire to have ice cream at midnight, and it's different to have desires that are really coming like from within, even though they don't necessarily look like service to Krishna, but it might be our psychophysical nature, our dharma, that like wants to like be manifested, and Krishna takes care. It's really wonderful. Krishna takes care that it's manifested in such a way that there is no loss. So let me see what else I wanted to say. Yes. So and then of course, like I wanted to speak about balance between material life and spiritual life. So not to forget the second part of it. So as I was speaking about like different like desires, the give and take desires, and spiritual life and material life going like next to each other. And yes, it's really not like ultimately it is not possible to have both of them. And at the same time, it's possible to practice. I cannot do devotional service, he says, Srila Prabhupada says. We cannot do devotional service until we are like completely sinless, until we are completely liberated from the material condition. We cannot do devotional service. That's true. We can practice devotional service. So that's great. So that's how we can like do this both things together. Do like a material life if we still have that desire for that, and practice spiritual life. So that's possible. And then Srila Prabhupada is so merciful that if we just practice, then he like kind of like takes it and give it to Krishna from us. So we cannot, like, if it is like mixed motives, we cannot approach Krishna, but we can approach Srila Prabhupada. So there's the special mercy that we are given. And we need to remember that Srila Prabhupada is Patita Pavana, which means the deliverer of the fallen conditioned souls. I love that because I belong to that category. So I feel fully qualified to aspire to be his disciple. I feel like there is no other qualification needed because Patita Pavana, Srila Prabhupada is the spiritual master of the fallen souls in the footsteps of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So we can like still, do our material business until we are like really genuinely finished with it. This process is for those who are honest. So if I dishonestly try to conceal my material desires, it will probably hit me somewhere later. And while also practicing the spiritual life, and then we will get more and more taste for the spiritual life and less taste for the material life. And it's also true, like I know, for like if I just go to see my horse, you see horse is coming, even if I just go to see my horse and I go from the place of responsibility, it's like time to like responsibility, like I want to like check that she's okay, she's healthy, brush her, give her some exercise, whatever. Like if I go from a place of responsibility, then my joy is much greater than if I go from a place I want to go to see my horse because I want to enjoy. So even in like the relationship on the material platform or more material platform, the difference of the experience of like when I want to enjoy and when I want to give is quite significantly different. And more so when it's like this like ultimate giving, like pure devotion to God. It's like, okay, if I give to the horse, it's like I am giving to the leaf of a tree, but I can give to the root of the tree. And it's like ultimately so much more satisfying because then all the leaves get nurtured. And so by like practicing, we have like the comparison of the experiences and getting more and more taste to do what's the real taste. Even the senses are so much more happy in their purified state when they can serve Krishna than when they taste anything that's like for own enjoyment. So then the higher taste will like kind of like automatically, I think Srila Prabhupada also says it in the Prabhupada, it's like automatically will like take us away from this world. It's like almost, it's like effortless. Then like, oh, now I actually finally have the right set of desires. And then like when the desire is there, it's all easy. So there is like the material suffering motivation, right? Like we want to get liberated from the pain and misery of the material world. and then we want to enjoy. So, and then the highest enjoyment is with Krishna. So Queen Kunti, she prays, let the calamities come again and again so we can remember you. Like, I really don't want to think that this world is a nice, safe, beautiful place. I don't want to be in that illusion, Krishna. Let the calamities come so I can like desire for you. So I don't want to do it like Queen Kunti. I mean, like, I admire her. She's amazing and all that. And it's a process for her. Anytime I desire to go back to Krishna, I say, Krishna, and please, I want to be motivated by the higher taste principle. It means I don't want any more pain and suffering in my life. Thank you. I know it would help me to want to get out of here, but I only want to have this like love, inspiration, higher taste principle. So as we practice, as we give ourselves every day to like committed, so all our material desires don't take us away eventually, but like committed structure, this is like my spiritual practice, day by day, committed structure for practice of devotional service. The taste will come, and then the taste will naturally lead us to want more. And last point I will make is that like we were speaking yesterday about the separation, association and separation. And so like through association with devotees, we can get more taste, but really through separation with the devotees, we can also get more taste. So I was also thinking about this because we had like 3 months intense lockdown. Like we were not even allowed to go to a different city and like that. So there was like no association, anything, no Harinam. It's the first time ever that I'm in Czech Republic. I cannot go Harinam Sankirtan. I couldn't. I could go for the first time this Monday, the Monday that was, I could go for the first time. I was just like, so, like the taste for like missing it for such a long time, and then getting it, it's just like after the separation from the holy name and sharing it in the streets, and then like getting it back, it just increase the separation, also increase the taste. Like Krishna like leaves the gopis, he doesn't have to do that. He can expand himself in millions of Krishnas and be with everyone all the time, but he doesn't do that because he knows in the separation there is also opportunity for increased taste, and we need to know ourselves. Like if I know that outside of association with devotees I am losing taste, then it's probably to be in the association. But in my experience a lot, when I'm outside of the association, my longing is so much greater, and that's good. And I wanted to say that, yes, I was thinking like I don't know if it's historically true, maybe Dira Govinda Prabhu can correct me, but like my understanding from the movie about Srila Prabhupada is that when like Srila Prabhupada came to United States and he had like the early, like maybe not even disciples, more like followers who were like attracted to chant with him and be around him. And then he got sick. That's my understanding from the movie. He got sick and went back to India. And then these early followers, they weren't sure, like, is he going to come back or is he never going to come back? And then they developed like so much greater urgency that when he came back, they were really ready to like say like, well, like, he's 70. We don't know, like there is no guarantee that he will stay around a long time. Let's learn from him everything we can. And then my understanding from the movie is like, then the movement like really like had this like racket start because everyone wanted like so much to take the opportunity of learning from Srila Prabhupada, of supporting him to like give all these books so they and the future generations could have them. It's like when we have these books, we can directly associate with all these personalities with Srila Prabhupada. It's like when we read a fairy tale book, it's like opening the book and being in completely different world, where there's like, or I don't know, speaking mountains and flying dragons and princesses, I don't know, like opening the book and being in completely different world. And so we open Srila Prabhupada's book, so beautiful. And then we are there. We are in his association and the association of the other devotees, completely like pulled into the scene. So that's my understanding, that like this separation time helped to like spark the movement with such intensity that it had, like publishing Chaitanya Charitamrita in 2 months with all the pictures and everything and like that. And then another thing that's from the movie that I love is Srila Prabhupada, when they were desperate that Srila Prabhupada was leaving, and he said to them, "You are going to chant here, and I'm going to chant there, and in this way we are going to be all connected." That's our association, because the holy name Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. It's not different from Krishna. It's Krishna himself, and it's our Prabhupada. Prabhupada means like the person at whose feet all the person gathers. And so at the feet of the holy name, all the Prabhus are also gathering. So all the Prabhus are gathering at the feet of the holy name. And so Srila Prabhupada had such a deep realization of the holy name being Krishna himself. And every one of us would just like say, after the name Pans, it's like immediately there at the feet of the holy name. Then they are all gathered around. So I think I could say more things from my notes, but I will stop here. And I invite comments, questions, doubts, feedback's only positive. Kelly.
Okay.
Yes, I'm just feeling tremendous gratitude for this talk this morning, Hladini, that you presented, and it's helped a whole lot of things that are happening in my life come into a space of gratitude for the opportunity that Krishna is providing, both in beautiful ways and in really challenging ways, and to I feel more of a desire for them and a gratitude for them, in hopes of the learning curve that will come from Krishna. So thank you so much for the perspective.
It sounds we are like connecting with trust in life and trust in Krishna and in like whatever he provides as our process.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Nice to see you in Alachua. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Hladini Shakti. I too am very much moved by your class on Hladini Shakti. In saying that, I'm not saying that your class was an exercise in egotistical self-absorption. That's not what I'm saying. I'm actually complimenting. I was really inspired because you talked about Hladini Shakti. That's Krishna's internal potency, and I am very moved by how because Hladini Shakti is the Sanskrit name for Krishna's internal potency. That's his personal potency. The material energy is more like a mechanical energy, and so how he just so personally, through his Hladini Shakti, his internal energy, he personally reciprocates with the spirit souls, and we become more and more under the shelter of Hladini Shakti, the internal energy, as we develop more and more of a spark of a desire for devotional service. And yeah, like I said, whether it's with us, his personal, I like that. Yeah, he's the ultimate transcendental facilitator, and our material desires is just like it's just like a perfect process by by that transcendental, flawless facilitator, and whether it's with the gopis or Dhruva Maharaj or Prahlad Maharaj, even those at such exalted states of consciousness, very personal Hladini Shakti based process for bringing them even deeper into their love of Krishna. And for those of us with conditioning, it's the same process, but maybe in these stages, it's not directly about deepening our love for Krishna, but maybe increasing our realization of the futility of trying to enjoy material life, decreasing our attachment to material life. Also, relatedly, like you shared about your depressed client who's free from desire. So I congratulate him on being a liberated soul. It's an impressive achievement. At the same time, well, what's this depression about? And just basic psychology. Beneath depression, pretty much always, beneath depression, there's anger. And anger means I got a lot of desires that are frustrated, but I'm too scared of them. I'm too shameful of them. So I'll numb it with depression. So I suspect beneath that liberation depression stuff, he's got lots of desires.
My client never gets angry, Dhira Govinda Prabhu.
That's because he's receiving coaching from you. So you're an instrument of the transcendental facilitator. And well, one more thing, I appreciate your joyful enthusiasm in giving class, and simultaneously the rich, the joyful enthusiasm, as Damayanti just wrote. And simultaneously, with your enthusiasm, there's so much rich subtlety and nuance philosophically. One of the that distinction, because I say, yes, well, sometimes I have material desires, but sometimes I want to do devotional service. Like, no, I'm never doing devotional service. Sometimes I'm practicing. Yeah, so like I can do with absorption material life. Okay, but then and then like right now, like I'm practicing devotional service, hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. So I really like that distinction. Like the gopis or Prahlad Maharaj, they're doing devotional service. That's like that. We're practice means like I'm really not good at it, but I'm practicing, and then we get the mercy of Krishna's internal energy to increase our enthusiasm for more practice. Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing, Dhira Govinda Prabhu. I appreciate your summary of what I shared, and I'm getting more understanding of what I shared as you are like putting it into more nuance. And there is some chat, so I will read it. I thought we would see the horse. Yes, next time. I experience you, Lakshmi Priya says, I experience you as relaxed. Yeah, that's direct message. So it's only for me, sorry. And from Damayanti, yes, Hare Krishna, thank you for the joyful class. Thank you everyone for writing. Any other comments? Kathleen.
Hi, Hare Krishna. Thank you for your lively, inspiring teaching today. I was inspired by the giver-taker model that you applied to our relationship to devotional service and Krishna. And it felt helpful to look at it in that framework. That yes, like staying in the material world, that's like the taker energy, and like devotional service is that giver energy, and it just felt supportive and like a helpful framework. So I'm appreciating that perspective this morning.
Thank you for sharing, Kathleen. I thought that in this community, the giver taker would would land the place of understanding. Keith?
Hello, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah, I'm relating to what you were saying about material life being like forcing things. And recently I read in the Bhagavad Gita talking about manipulating the material energy to get pleasure. Because I I have considered myself to be not a manipulative person. I don't go out of my way to manipulate other people. And I can honestly say I'm not so disposed for that. But I noticed when I read that, like, well, I am definitely a sense gratifier. So I must be manipulating somewhere. And I noticed that, yeah, I'll manipulate my own self and my own mind indirectly to get something out of other people. And I'll manipulate my vision of myself under the watchful eye of Krishna. And then you were saying something else after that about connecting to these material desires and being honest with our material situation and how that reflects on our connection with Krishna. And that's also what I within just even the last few days realized that like before, this was a few moments, I actually felt some devotion for Krishna, and it was quite elevated compared to where I'm at. But I realized the last couple of days that really mostly my stance towards him is like a big fist to the sky, right? And that's in my consciousness, and I don't feel grateful to him. I feel some gratitude to Prabhupada, not that much. And so anyway, I appreciate what you're saying about fulfilling material desires to open up for more pure desires. I remember in the advanced seminar, my stretch was to dance with inhibition like Zorba, you know. And then I was to give class on Srimad Bhagavatam, and it was just doing that exercise of expressing my material situation, like you with your horse, your material dharma. And then there was some deeper realization come out of me that was something divine, very amazing. So I'm just reflecting my appreciation for what you're saying, and it was a really nice class.
Hare Krishna, thank you. I appreciate your sharing, Keith, and I experience you in your sharing as like powerful and clear. And yes, like you were reading Bhagavad Gita, and like you really like appreciated, or maybe not appreciated, but uncomfortably received the mirror of Bhagavad Gita, like that every one of us is like manipulating and exploiting, and then it didn't resonate with you. But when you took a second look, like you could also see yourself in it, and so that was I hear that was like a powerful transformation for you, opportunity to see yourself, and then you had this beautiful like glimpses of devotion to Krishna and anger to Krishna, and yes. And when I was speaking about the material desires, you were also remembering how you connected more with your dharma at the seminar, and how it and like you probably have like more deep spiritual experience than ever before that. So thank you for sharing that. Hare Krishna.
Jai.
Okay, so there are no more questions or comments. Then we can close this gathering. Maybe because I said that I only invite positive feedback, then no one else has something to say. So thank you for Anandini.
Yes, I appreciated your class a lot, and I had many thoughts, and I could recognize myself in many things and many questions. So I'm not really sure how to share, what to share, and the question to ask. But what, like when you were sharing about material desires and spiritual desires and the desire for horse, and like I was thinking, what's wrong with that desire? When we came to visit you and you took us to the horses, it was so peaceful, and sometimes I wish I could go back and see Hladini and she'll take us to the horses, and I'm not a horse person, but it's very, very peaceful. So what's wrong with that desire, or how is it material? It helped you in your process, in your personal growth, in your spiritual life a lot. So why is it material? Where is the difference? And also when you were speaking about giver and taker, what came to me is this song. I think it's George Harrison who sings, give me love, give me love, give me peace on earth. So that's like, so in a way that's material asking, it's, I want to take love, I want to take peace, and it's something it's something in my personal process that recently I meditate a lot, and it brings a lot of, it's almost like an earthquake in me, this realization that a lot of my endeavors are driven by wanting relief of suffering for myself and for others. And it's, yeah, it's not, it seems it's not what kind of desire is that? I want something. I don't want to give, I want. So I also have some confusion around this.
Yes, thank you for sharing, Anandini. What I hear from you is that you cannot like even relate to like what's wrong with wanting a horse desire. And now that I hear that like you are thinking like you would like to go back to see me and my horse, then I'm like thinking, oh, I have my horse to attract devotees to me. So that's good. That's a good desire. And also I hear that like maybe it's like difficult like to make a distinction of like where like very like we speak about the desire a lot, like desiring for Krishna or desiring for material life, and then sounds like to make the distinction like what is really for Krishna is maybe not really clear. That's my understanding of what you shared. Like okay, if I say like, oh, I want love from Krishna, I want Krishna's love. Is it material or spiritual? Like it maybe sounds even like a little narrow-minded. So that's
I'm just in this question, and also like it's a big desire of mine, like peace on earth. And I start to feel emotional about it. It's a desire I have, and I see I more and more understand how it's, not really possible. And it's a desire to be free from suffering, and it's a desire that maybe creates even more suffering in myself because it's not possible. Like there's some, I don't really know how to ask the questions.
Like you are maybe like telling yourself like this is not possible, like the peace on earth is not possible to happen, and it's like painful for you to have this like I want it and it's not possible. It's maybe like a little conflicting inside.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know. I think I'm not clear on the question I have.
Well, in hearing the conversation, I'm thinking about Hladini Shakti. She made this distinction between geography and consciousness. So we can think of peace on earth with earth as a geography. So in one sense, there's no particular reason why there could not be full peace in this geography. But to think that in material consciousness, whether on Earth or Mars or the lower planetary system or whatever, in material consciousness, let's have peace. That's resisting reality. That's resisting the material context. Material context means war. Material context means disturbance in ourselves, in families, in communities. That's material context. No, I want material consciousness, material desires, and peace. Yeah, so then I'm going to be frustrated. I'll be insane. I'll be depressed because I'm resisting reality. And so on Earth, yeah, and we had this discussion in a fairly recent, I think, morning program. Yeah, so we can move towards peace, right? To the extent that as individuals, as groups, that we move towards sattvic consciousness, sattvic habits in eating, in communication, in our relationship with cleanliness, and money management, sexual energy, right? To the extent that we move towards sattvic habits, sattvic consciousness, we will create more and more peace within ourselves, in our families, in communities, on Earth. And to the extent that we genuinely, not artificially, to the extent we go even beyond sattvic to transcendental consciousness, then this geography goes towards peace and joy. So yeah, so that this is these are very real grounded principles. And as I shared a few mornings ago in the class, like I can see myself that to the extent that I'm alive in my sattvic transcendental process, I experience peace in myself and joy. And to the extent that I'm alienated from it in my relationship with sleeping and eating, chanting, reading, quality time on the internet, wasted time on to the extent that my habits are sattvic and transcendental, then it's not just an abstract philosophy. So I'm just relating your sharing, and I hear, and it's emotional for you, Anandini. I'm relating your sharing to that distinction Hladini Shakti made, consciousness and geography. So that's something that came to me, hearing your sharing. Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Kathleen?
Yeah, I wanted to, I was really feeling Anandini's emotions, and it tapped into an experience that I have that feels similar, like wanting peace in the world. And like lately I've been experiencing a lot of like anger towards how many people live in the world and damage like, natural systems and cut down trees and all of that material misery that I'm witnessing. And I've just tapped into like the reality that there's a lot of grief inside of me. And so like under the anger of what I'm witnessing and that pain, I'm allowing myself to go to the grief and actively do some grieving, which is helping my heart get purified by just experiencing the grief of the reality, the lack of peace or the misery or the destruction. And so it feels kind of, like I'm experiencing my experience of that deep grief, and it feels purifying. That's all.
Hladini, we're not hearing you.
Yes, thank you. Yes, Hare Krishna. Thank you, Kathleen, for sharing. I hear your pain that resonates with Anandini pain in like seeing how Mother Earth is being tortured, how much like damage is going on around, and very like difficult and painful to witness.
Yeah, and it's helpful to just tap in and be with that grief without trying to change the world. And that's what feels the most purifying and truthful for me.
Yeah, like you don't want to deny your experience of like this is painful to witness, and like it's moving you maybe to more compassion and like affection for the earth and the living entities that are suffering. So you don't want to like let go of the grief, sounds like, but also you don't want to act on it because you have the trust that Krishna is like in charge of this place and it's like already done in a perfect way. So I hear like you are moving to this humility.
Yeah, it's humility and like just being fully in the grief instead of like, to me, there's like this logic of how things should be, and then there's anger under that, but then deep under that is the grief. And it's like, if I can access and be with my grief, I feel like it's helping me let go of the anger and let go of the frustration.
Yeah, instead of like anger and frustration and things need to be different and I want it to be changed and I'm going to fight for it.
Yeah.
And there is this like pain and grieving.
Yeah.
And that moves you to acceptance.
That's a more active process of allowing myself to grieve that helps me let go of the anger and the frustration.
I appreciate that. I'm inspired by your sharing of this, like on one hand, like being true to your experience, and on the other hand, also like trusting that there is like nothing to like be changed or fight for.
Thank you.
I appreciate very much, Kathleen, what you share. I can connect to that. And it's easier for me to connect with grief than to connect with anger. I was searching. I was like logically, I thought, okay, yeah, there must be a lot of anger in me. It's hard for me to access it. Grief is easier for me to access. And I just, the question that comes up is, so we have a recipe for peace in our consciousness, like, so the chanting and I experience it often. And and I see that a big roadblock is that I wonder why do I deserve that and not all these others that are suffering? I don't know. Maybe you have a recipe for that too.
Yeah. Yeah, you can access grief more than anger and frustration, and you're wondering why you have this recipe for peace and how you want others to have this recipe.
Yeah, I guess I'm fearful or I know apprehensive to fully take it, embrace it, because something in me thinks, oh, but as long as others are suffering, I'm not. I don't know. I'm just some false humility.
Thanks for sharing.
Hare Krishna. Yeah, for me, these emotions, this direction of introspection, conversation, for me, it kind of highlights Srila Prabhupada on the Jaladuta. So Srila Prabhupada has this peace formula and he's realizing it and he's not satisfied. He's not happy. I mean, he's spiritual, joyful, all of that, but he's not happy. And so he's his full dedication is to enthusiastically share. So at 70 years old, he sailed on the Jaladuta, and that's why here we are in different places of the world, Florida and Missouri and Europe and different places of the world, Canada, because Srila Prabhupada, he was realizing this peace formula, and he wasn't satisfied, and he was enthused to share it. And in the line of Srila Prabhupada, we get to cultivate the peace formula ourselves and to enthusiastically share it. That's what's happening for me in relation to the conversation. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. What's happening for me to the conversation is that, like, I appreciate you, Kathleen and Anandini, for your vulnerable sharing. And for myself, like, when I get to feel the pain for others, I feel really happy with myself, because, like, when I studied the veterinary school, I became like so numb to all the pain around me, and it's sometimes difficult for me to like reconnect to the compassion that I used to have when I was growing up. And I think it's something like really beautiful, like to have the capacity in our heart to experience the pain of others. Like the Raghavindas Prabhu said, Shri Prabhupada had this, the devotee is sama dukkha dukhi. He's like experiencing pain on seeing others in pain. So I personally would like to be where the two of you are. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Thank you all for your association.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Hladini Shakti. Thank you, everyone, for your association. Hare Krishna. Lovely class, yes, it was. Thank you, Kristen, there. Hare Bol.
Hare Krishna.